Hi everyone, in my last video I said I would be doing a practical visual of basically how thoughts work in the ADHD or autistic brain. However, for such an example, I need a multi-pen, and while I do have a multi-pen, I cannot for the life of me find it anywhere in my house. Thus, I'm going to have to hold off till I found the goddamn thing. So, instead, I'll just move on to what I was going to talk about afterwards, which is blurting out responses. Now, that's very common for people with ADHD, but as usual, before I properly get into it, I gotta mention, if you like the video, then, leave a like. What was the next one? Oh yeah, follow me on TikTok. I keep freezing. Comment, leave questions in the comments, subscribe. Oh, and if you don't mind, repost it as well, because I like these videos to reach as many people who could find them useful as possible, and that would help a lot. So, here we go. So, blurting out responses. Now, I know there's probably a lot of you out there who have ADHD who's thinking right now, yeah, yep, that's me. Well, don't worry, because it happens to us all. And to be honest, even if don't have ADHD, you've probably blurted out responses before. Now, the idea is, people with ADHD blurt out responses and often interrupt others. Yes, this is true. Especially true in classrooms. You've probably seen it when you were in school, or if you are in school and that you have someone with ADHD in your class, it probably happens quite often. And again, it's an impulsive behavior, okay? So it's not like they can help it. It's just, as I've said before in videos, instead of thinking, then acting, their body, their brain just goes straight to acting. Now, for me in school, it usually happened whenever I had a topic or we were discussing a topic in class I was particularly interested in. And that's just because it's not like I got accused of being a know-it-all or teacher's pet or nerd. Well, now the nerd thing didn't bother me, but being called teacher's pet or know-it-all did bother me, because I felt like people were trying to say that I was being arrogant, and I don't like the idea of being arrogant, because I like to listen to other people, I like to take into account their opinions, their views, but the problem was with me is I had low self-esteem, and my low self-esteem affected a lot of aspects of my personality, the way I would think. So it wasn't just I didn't like how I looked, I was not because I wanted to look like everyone else, not because I wanted to look particularly pretty or beautiful, just because I always felt like people were looking at me, and if they were looking at me, the first thing they'd see is my physical appearance, and I didn't like them getting the initial impression, an initial negative impression of me based on my appearance. And I couldn't put into words why that affected me, why it made me think that I didn't like the way I looked. Over time, I gotten better at dealing with that and being like, you know what, screw that. No, I look however I like to look. And when I really want to put an effort into my appearance, I put the effort in, and I like how it turns out. So, but it also affected things like my capacity to believe whether or not I was good enough at something, or talented enough, or smart enough. And in classes where the answers would come up, there were times when answers would come up and they'd go, okay, does anyone know what this equation results in? Or does anyone know the name of this country? Or can anyone tell me the year this battle happened? Different topics, different questions. And there were times when I'd know the answer and I'd be thinking, because I didn't want to look stupid, because it would make me feel worse, I wouldn't say the answer because I'd be second guessing myself. But when it came to topics where I was absolutely certain about the answer, like there was no way I was wrong, then it happened. They would go, okay, can anyone tell me this? And I would just go for it. I would be like, oh, I know. And there were a couple times when I had teachers who would initially go, oh, Jess, you need to raise your hand. And then plenty of other teachers who would find it really charming and enthusiastic and actually appreciate it and be like, oh, yeah, yes, Jess, exactly, thank you. And sometimes the teachers who knew me best asked me to elaborate on these responses. Now, this is the thing. It's great, to be confident and know the topic that you're talking about, know it inside out, enjoy it, and be enthusiastic and have that enthusiasm received well by a teacher, but received positively. But yes, those blurting out of responses, of answers and such, can be very interrupting to other people, especially when it's sudden, you know, because imagine that sudden noise, boom, okay, jump scare, and you've broken someone else's concentration. So yeah, now the thing is, again, it's all to do with impulsivity, and a large part of it does to do with this, basically what is known as the thalamus, if I said that correctly, gate. And the thalamus area in the brain deals with response inhibition. Okay, so it inhibits your responses, it makes you think, then act or say something. However, in a person with ADHD, this gate is literally broken and is pretty much hanging off its hinges in a storm. So there is none of that inhibition. Now, over time, yes, if you'd want to be careful, because there are certain situations where these kind of sudden responses, sudden answers, sudden interruptions can be particularly annoying to the room. I mean, say if you're in a meeting for work and everyone's taking their turn, everyone's going around the table, giving answers, and you just suddenly blurt something out. Not a good idea. So, now, as you get older, as an adult, the hyperactivity side of things of ADHD tends to become less obvious, just because, you know, I think with the hyperactivity, it's easier to come up with methods and strategies, even subconsciously, to help deal with it and mask it and, you know, carry yourself better or more disguised in society, so you don't get, like, odd looks. But the inattention side of things can actually be just as problematic as when you were a kid, if not sometimes more problematic, just because of the stresses of adult life. So what you want to do is you need to then, again, you can't say you make your brain change the way it thinks or change the way it works, because you can't do that. What you got to do is put a little effort, put a little attention and focus into developing these little first of all, conscious strategies that you employ every day, even though it's exhausting and takes like a bunch of effort, to basically go, no, I know the answer, but I gotta stop. You know, you gotta take into account the other people around you, the situation you're in. You've got to analyze that, then think, is this an okay situation for me to just blurt it out? If not, then wait for your turn. Yeah, wait for your moment, right? And then don't blurt it out, just say it. But when it comes to doing something like that, you don't, I mean, there are some times, you know, when blurting out answers and stuff is okay, but at the same time, it's like, when it comes to those environments and situations, those strategies that you've developed, though they're conscious now, though they take a lot of effort, eventually they will become more subconscious, you know, kind of like a habit. You know, you learn guitar for 3 years, suddenly you don't have to think about it anymore. Just that's basic example, but something like that. So yeah, that's blurting out responses. Now, I think that's all I can say about that. Now, in the next video, I will, if I haven't found my multi-pen, I will discuss the ADHD adult behavior of, and I say adult behavior just because, I mean, these are particularly relevant for adults with ADHD. I will talk about difficulty keeping quiet. And I know that can sound like, why would you feel the need to keep quiet? But I will explain that, no worries. So again, if you like the video, please leave a like, follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment, questions in the comment, and what was the last thing? Oh yes, repost if you liked the video, and it will help me out a lot. So until then, I'll see ya. Bye.